Hello, welcome to Inside the Birds Postgame Live. I'm Geoff Mosher. That's Adam Caplan with me. And what do you know? Stop me if you have heard this before. But the Philadelphia Eagles won a game that actually makes it 11 in a row as they improve to Adam.
10 in a row.
10 in a row. I can't count. You know I'm bad at math, right?
I know, barely.
Well, they won 10 in a row. They're 12-2, and they do it with a huge, convincing win, very convincing win over a good Pittsburgh Steelers team, 27-13. Adam, in this game, you saw, especially early on, offensive balance between the pass and the run game. You saw great defense all around, and you saw Jake Elliot make his kicks. It's almost as if a win, Adam, feels like a win here in Philadelphia. It was a really good, balanced game and not too much to quarrel with at all.
And as my friend Kyle Hawthorne just texted me, Greg Cosell was right. It was Hurts as his player of the game. Greg thought like this would be a Jalen Hurts game after everything that happened this week. And, you know, the Steelers with their good run defense, and Hurts showed up. I still think he was really good against Green Bay and Cincinnati. He was good, very good, but there was a easy throw game, but this was not. And overall, Hurts hung in there, maintained his downfield focus. That was absolutely phenomenal. Absolutely. So I was blown away by the way that he got out to that start. And it was interesting because, yeah, you're right, they were balanced, but even with the balance, they were throwing a lot early, and it worked. And this is the first time in a long time they were letting him throw, and he delivered in a big way. And that was a big reason why they got off to that great start. He was terrific early on.
Yeah, I mean, this is a really good Steelers defense. You saw that the defense made either some adjustments or they did things differently to make things a little bit tougher for the Eagles late in the second quarter into the third. But in the end, it's how the Eagles started, Adam, and that's what I think is the takeaway, at least for this game. Because for, I don't know how many games this year, maybe every game up until this game, maybe for 13 week games, you said this team really doesn't start very well. And they get a field goal on their first possession and a touchdown to A.J. Brown on their second one. You're seeing Jalen Hurts getting rid of the ball quickly, decisive. You saw some decent runs earlier from Saquon. And, of course, the Steelers did a better job as the game went on. And that, to me, is what stands out, is that the Eagles got themselves off to a good start. And I think that's why, at the end of the game, it looks like a commanding victory, because it's how they started. Eventually, the Steelers became the Steelers. They made some plays both defensively and offensively. But for the Eagles to start and then finish with such a long drive there in the fourth quarter, as we see them do all the time, sort of finally wearing out that defense and moving the chains. And Jalen Hurts did make some really nice third down plays on that final drive. That, to me, that's what you're looking for, and that's what makes this team a really difficult team to beat. And as we sit here right now, Adam, at 12-2, I think the idea of them going 15-2, probably not unrealistic.
No. I mean, really, it's Washington who they have to beat in Washington, and they've had some success over the years. But just a couple notes here. Let's not forget Barkley missed the majority of the first half. He got that. We'll see how they list it. We won't know till Wednesday whether it's a thigh or a knee, but he did come back. He grinded carries in the third quarter. So that was important that he came back. And that clearly affected them in the second quarter. There's no question about it. The offensive line got absolutely dominated by the Steelers in the second quarter. It was something to see. Like, we haven't not seen that. TJ Watt was incredible. He just was a home wrecker. Alex Highsmith got some quality rushes. They got to him. Lane Johnson had a couple plays he'd like to have back. He left for a couple plays. He came back. Landon Dickerson hurt his knee. He did not come back.
Yeah.
See what the testing shows tomorrow. Tyler Steen replaced him at left guard, so that's a problem. And then we saw Becton leave. He got his knee bent back. Thankfully, he came back in. So yeah, they underwent some injuries. I thought it was very odd though. They were up 14 points with 4 minutes left for the throw in the football. That's just not situationally. That's not smart. And that's when A.J. Brown fumbled and got hurt. He hurt his ankle. We don't know what it is. That was stupid. That was just not good, smart. I thought Nick coached a great game up to that time. By the way, he could absolutely overrule Kellen Moore. He should have. They should not have been throwing the football. That's just really bad situational football. I don't care what anybody says. You grind timeout. You grind the ball. You make them call timeouts. That's just not smart. That's just not good situational football.
Right. There's a difference between having a killer instinct. I think it might have been all the way in week 1 in Green Bay where they converted a 3rd and 6 late in the fourth quarter of a game they were already winning, but was close. And then, of course, they tried to go for the jugular against Atlanta with that pass to Barkley that he dropped. But those were games that I believe at the time were 1-possession games where you're just trying to kill it out, where, yes, you could drain the clock, but you could also still give up the ball if you don't make a play, right, and then give the ball back to the opponent. This one, you're right, the lead and the way the game was going, it didn't seem necessary there. And it was lucky it didn't come back to bite them. This was an interesting game where a couple of penalties on both sides, really hurt the team. I think the Steelers got really hurt by their unnecessary penalty earlier on the game with the tight end who looks like a guard or a tackle blocking Slay into the bleachers like it was the Blind Side movie.
What is he doing?
I don't know.
On that play by Darnell Washington, I think, and I get what Mike Tomlin was saying, and then Dean Blandino said the same thing. How in the world did the Eagles get not flagged? How did Quinyon Mitchell not get flagged?
Yeah, he threw a punch. He came in and threw a punch, so he should have been flagged.
Yeah, that was bad. They always usually they catch the last guy.
Right.
So Tomlin had the right to complain. He's part of the competition committee, by the way. And then Jalen Carter, what was he doing? They're very lucky that was a post-possession foul.
Yep.
That didn't cost them, giving them the unnecessary roughness. And then Nakobe came in there and said, "Dude, what are you doing?" He tried to calm him down. But you're right. Yeah, there were some bad penalties. But let me say this: we'll get into the defense overall. The defense is just terrific once again. This is one of those stories you could not have made up to start the season. Nobody saw this coming. I'm kind of in awe of their defense, man. The young guy, it's really cool. It's such a young football team on defense.
Mm-hmm.
And they're rising to the occasion. The discipline of this defense, they completely befuddled Russell Wilson. Hey, this is the first time they've beaten Russell Wilson. He's now 6-1 against the Eagles' lifetime, and also 1-0 in the playoffs. But
forgot about that. You're right.
That is a great job by the Eagles. Vic Fangio, Clint Hurt, this Bobby King, the linebackers coach, is an ass kicker. This is just a phenomenal job, and I just want to give the shout out to. We'll get deeper into the defense. I just want to say that because the fact that we didn't talk about the defense yet, that's shame on me. We should have mentioned it.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the linebackers, when we watch the All-22, we'll get a better idea. But I really thought Vaughn and Dean stood out. I thought they had to stand out in this game, and I thought they did stand out. The Steelers didn't have a bunch of long runs. They had a decent running game, but they're the Steelers. They're going to have one. But early on, it was tough sledding for their run game. And then every time Wilson tried to throw sort of a screen or something quick in the flat, it felt like Dean or Vaughn or even Cooper to Gene. He's a nickelback, so he's sort of like a linebacker. They were quick to the ball. They would make plays. They didn't let tackles get broken too much. And even the flea flicker, Adam, was just a great throw and a great pass. It's not like the purpose of a flea flicker is to really fool a defense and have a guy wide open. Vaughn was there. There was another defender there. It was just a really great throw and catch. So in general, I thought you're right. Like, we're going to talk a lot about Jalen Hurts getting some things solved, A.J. Brown and Hurts being on the same page, Devontae Smith, the pass game. The defense really did an excellent job. And I know that George Pickens isn't on the field, and that changes things, but it doesn't matter. This team scored 38 points the week before. So, and they're certainly capable.
Without him.
Excellent job.
Yeah. I mean, a couple things. They actually completely shut down the Steelers running game. They did absolutely nothing. That's the real story of this game is that it starts and ends with the run game. It always has and always will.
Mm-hmm.
As Greg talked about, Cosell said it's because of the physicality that the organization wants, from the Rooney family to Mike Tomlin. As I mentioned on our pregame show, talking to Matt Canna, the former offensive coordinator last summer, it's a directive. He was given that has to happen. And you bring in Arthur Smith, you know what's coming. You don't need to guess what's coming. It's going to be started with the run game. This is all Arthur Smith knows, and they completely shut it down. And see, Russell Wilson needs the run game, and he only had 128 yards in a game. They were behind. They never led. That's unbelievably impressive.
It is really amazing. There's a lot to go through. The big thing before we get into really like scalpel and forceps stuff is, are you a little concerned about maybe the injury situation coming out of this? Yeah. It feels like Landon Dickerson gets like nicks and scratches and bumps and bruises almost every game, has to come in and come out. This might have been the first time he didn't finish a game this year, though.
It's not good. Yeah, I don't know. There was the first half injury. He didn't return. Steen has played right and left guard for them, so it's not like he hasn't done it before.
Right.
But that's a problem. I don't like A.J. Brown. I know some people thought it was a hip drop. I'm not sure, but that is worrisome. Again, you're up 14. You know me, I'm Mr. Aggressive, but not when the rule is 2 scores. I can tell you as a fact, it's 2 scores under 5 minutes.
Right.
I don't know what Nick's. He can defend it all he wants, but he's wrong.
Yeah.
But whatever. Let's hope he's okay. They did. Washington won, but Washington won today. Oh, by the way, Detroit's trying to make a game with 12 seconds left. They're going to lose.
I know.
The Eagles are going to be tied with Detroit. The Eagles now have the longest winning streak in the National Football League.
Yeah.
With 10 games. Wow.
You know how Josh Allen was really impressive, even in a loss to the Rams, where he has 6 touchdowns, and you come away thinking, I know you lost the game, but man, you were amazing. I almost feel that way about the Lions with all the injuries that they have suffered. It feels like I know they're still great, but you would think that the dam would finally break, and it did. They're giving up a ton. They give up a ton of points to the Bills, but the fact that they were even in that game and going elbow for elbow, I mean, they're going to be a tough out no matter what.
Sure.
And it's going to be an interesting last 3 weeks here. The Eagles have Washington, then they have Dallas. Dallas has won 3 out of 4 now, I believe. If you look, I think they've won 3 out of 4.
You're right. Yeah, they won. Now the game that was impressive was that crazy Washington game.
Yeah,
that was impressive. They beat a bad Giants team. They lost at home to the Bengals. Shocker. They lost at home. I'm shocked.
Yeah, and that was on the craziest muff punt like that,
Yeah, exactly. Right. Exactly. The fact they were going to get the ball back with 2 minutes with a chance to win. And as you said, they muffed it. Mm-hmm. And they hammered Carolina. And Carolina, the first time in almost 3 years that they're a favorite and they lose, they choke. They played like crap.
I had a feeling they were going to lose badly after they were favored, by the way.
Yeah, exactly.
In the NFL preview show, I said the Cowboys are going to win this game. There's no doubt about it.
So Detroit, by the way, so now the Eagles and the Lions are tied, right? So Detroit plays at Chicago next week, where remember, Chicago almost came back when they were down big on Thanksgiving, and Matt Eberflus got fired after that choke. And then the Lions play at the Niners. Now we'll see if the Niners even care by then. Who else will quit? Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
That was bad, though. How about John Lynch? Jay Glazer put it out there that John Lynch came down and challenged Campbell.
Wow. That is crazy. Wow, that's how you know it's just not your year, man.
Exactly. Old 47 came out. And then the Lions, now this is great. Hopefully it'll mean something. The Lions host the Vikings in week 18. Holy smokes, if that game means something. Wow.
Right. And as we've tried to tell everybody, as it stands, even if the Eagles are tied, as it stands going with 3 weeks left, the Lions still have a better conference record. It helped the Eagles to win this game against the Steelers, of course, but it's not a conference win. And of course, a loss to the Lions is not the Bills for the Lions is not a conference loss. Correct. So the Eagles need to be 1 game ahead of the Lions unless somehow they finish with a tie and a similar conference record. And then it comes down to some other tiebreaker. They don't, I guess, common opponents. I have no idea. But the point
here's the problem.
It feels like the Eagles need to be 1 game ahead in the standings.
The Eagles' strength of victory, they're down Detroit. Their strength of schedule, they're down to Detroit.
Yep.
So yeah, you're right. They probably will. But the bottom line is they're in it. This is super cool with such a young football team, well ahead of where most of us thought they would be. In fact, I don't know anyone who had them winning 13 or 14 games, which they're going to win, which they're going to get. And actually, as you said, they have a chance to get 15 if they win out. But yeah, this is a thoroughly satisfying win, as you said, and it's true. You don't control who they're missing. Eagles don't have Goddard. They don't have BG, which is huge. Nolan Smith is getting way better, man. He's still not the pass rusher that they thought he'd be, but you know what? He's getting better with it. He had an awesome sack.
Yeah,
absolutely awesome sack today. And they collapsed the pocket of Russell Wilson. Maybe the young Russell Wilson would have been able to break out. Let's stay on defense right now. We haven't really talked. Let's nail the defense here. Sure, Sweaty had a good sack today. This is a defense that is super disciplined and well coached. You are seeing the value of coaching week after week after week after week. There were some people on social media saying Vic should go to an old age home, assisted living home after a couple weeks. What's wrong with him? He stinks. He's overrated. Never had a number 1 defense. They're bad mouthing this guy. The staff stinks, and now they think this guy's the greatest thing since sliced bread, so to speak. So they're getting the job done, and this young group is growing up fast.
Mm-hmm. I feel like this is a better Eagles defense than 2 years ago that set the sack record.
How so?
Because that defense, again, I don't like to take credit away. You can only play the teams that are on your schedule. And not that this year's schedule is that rough either, but that defense really I remember they sacked Carson Wentz 9 times. They had some really big chunk games, but whenever they had to face a really good quarterback, which was only a couple of times that year, and then obviously in the Super Bowl, they gave up yards, they gave up points. That defense was vulnerable all year at times to misdirection, as it was in the Super Bowl when the Chiefs scored 2 touchdowns basically off the same not misdirection, motion and misdirection. This defense seems much more disciplined. And maybe they don't have to have 8 to 10 sacks a game. And I do think the marriage between the back end and the front end, right, is about as good as I've ever seen it. Meaning, I think a lot of the sacks the Eagles are getting aren't just good get-off sacks by the D-line. I think the coverage is helping give those D linemen some extra time. Remember, they're good. They don't have a TJ Watt. They don't have a guy who's just automatically killing tackles off the snap. They've got tenacious guys like Sweat, and we're starting to see Nolan Smith, who's always been tenacious, but he's starting to, like you said, figure things out. They're really going with a 3-man D-end rotation. Milton Williams gets some pressures, but he's not Fletcher Cox. And Jalen Carter is a very violent, disruptive player, no doubt, but he's not getting 12 or 13 sacks like Cox has had at times. I do think they're helped out as much by the defensive backfield as the defensive backfield is helped out by them. So I don't think that it was like that 2 years ago as much. I think it was more just the front 4 8. We know that James Bradbury was a guy who benefited way more from the front 4 than his actual talents, because we know that teams felt that he was vulnerable. I don't think an offense, Adam, goes in and looks at the Eagles tape and says, if we can block it up, I think we can really beat that guy badly, like some teams may have felt about Bradbury 2 years ago, but they couldn't block it up. I just think this back end is so solid. I'm not saying they're perfect. I'm not saying they can't get beat once or twice, but they're so disciplined from the middle to the back, Adam, that I think it just makes this defense more complete than the one from 2 years ago.
See, they don't have the sack numbers, they don't have the turnover numbers, but there's so much better discipline. It's because the rush cover rush. It's just the marriage between both is phenomenal.
Yep.
They're so disciplined. The run defense, which got off to that bad start, one of the best in the National Football League. Who the hell knew? It's again, you couldn't have made this up. Nobody knew this crap coming into the season. We were like, oh, I don't. Because we were there. Andrew and I were there. We were like, I don't know about this defense, man. They're young. Here's another. I'm going to give you another one. One of the biggest issues that we had when we were at training camp was the linebackers were getting killed in coverage, in particular Nakobe Dean. And I'm like, oh man, I don't know.
Yeah.
They're not getting nobody's getting the linebackers in the pass game. It's unbelievable. Who could have known this?
Yeah, that was, by the way, that was a really nice throw that Wilson made to Freiermuth in the end zone between a couple of defenders. Like, you're going to give up some plays here and there, and the Steelers are good. So I agree. I think that they're fundamentally sound. They play tight defense. Would you like to see the Eagles cause more turnovers? They caused 2 today. Well, no, they gave up. They caused 1 turnover today, if I'm not mistaken, right?
They did have the 1 turnover. Yes.
Yeah, they have 1 turnover. They're not like 2 years ago when C.J. Gardner-Johnson was picking off quarterbacks left and right and center.
Yep.
But that was also sort of flukish too. I mean, what do you have, like 6?
I wouldn't call it a fluke. I totally disagree. He
goes through his career. He's never had 6 or 7 interceptions.
No, but you're not listening. It's the vision. He has this knack that you can't really teach.
I'm not taking his talent away. I understand what you're saying.
Incredible.
He's a playmaker, but it's flukish to have one person to have 6 turnovers himself in a 5-game span. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, you mean you're talking about
Yeah. I'm not saying he's not a good turnover type of player. I'm just saying, if you saw, even when he came back and even this year, it's not like, even last year with the few games he played for the Lions, he's not averaging 1.5 turnovers himself per game. Is the only point I'm making. So,
yeah, I mean, I just don't.
This team being more.
He's got this unique ability. He had that. By the way, the pick he had a couple weeks, it was fantastic.
That was a great pick.
He saw that coming. But yeah, I mean, look, that if there's a negative, they just don't get a lot of turnovers. But that's okay. They're so disciplined; it doesn't really matter. And by the way, they give the defense the ball back because they're not scoring. The offenses are not scoring against them. It's just really remarkable, the discipline and the great coaching they're getting, the execution. It's also a great match between coaches and players compared to last season when the defense coordinator was reassigned, and the lack of discipline and respect that the players had for the coaching staff last year was just embarrassing. And then this year they're buying in. Talk about the buy-in. Oh, wow.
Yeah. Now, what do you make of that little? I don't know. I mean, certainly Jalen Carter needs to be told when he does something out of line.
That was bad.
And that was bad. And then on the sideline, the cameras showed it looked like Clint Hurts had to, I don't know, get in between Jalen Carter and Sirianni, and there were some other guys there. I don't know what to make of that.
I don't know what. It's a great question. I'm not sure because we don't know what was said, and I'm not going to guess.
Yeah,
but that was weird. Look, the camera caught him. I was like, uh-oh.
It's just going to feed into the narrative. Like the Eagles can never have fun winning. There's always
I know. But look, this is no. You said it earlier, and I agree totally. Like I'd be concerned about AJ Brown's ankle injury or that foot, and then Slay got hurt. Slay got hurt.
He did.
He's tweaked an ankle or foot a bunch of times this season. He's an older player, oldest starting outside corner in the National Football League. Thankfully for the Eagles, they have Rodgers. Mm-hmm. But overall, this is a satisfying win against a really good football team that had playing some of the best football of any team. And when you the head of their offense is the run game. I mean, if you shut down the run game, they can't do anything. Mm-hmm. And Pickett's didn't play, but overall, this is I would guess 99% of the folks watching are Eagles fans or listening also to the replay. If you're not satisfied with this win, you should like another team because this is about as good as it gets. It's phenomenal.
My gosh. Absolutely. I think it can't be understated how important it was for Jake Elliott to get back on track.
Yeah,
and
sure.
I hope everybody who follows our work was on InsideTheBirds.com and read Andrew DeCecco's story this week about Jake Elliott, because if you read the story, you would realize that Jake Elliott's confidence was not wavered at all. It wasn't shaken. He was able to explain some of the misses and why they happen. And he said the thing you keep doing is you go out there and you keep swinging. And I feel like after he made the 2, right, then he makes the 3rd, but then there's the penalty. So it gives them a first down, but they don't really do anything with the ball. And the next thing you know, he's kicking like the exact same field goal. And I know a lot of people were thinking, like the way karma works, he's going to miss that one. And he really did sneak it inside the left side of the goal.
He did. By the way, you should have been in our Patreon chat, or our live our chat on Discord. I'm laughing because just as you said it, a couple of people are like, "No, don't kick, please, don't have him kick." By the way, the wind was nothing today; it was under 10 miles an hour.
Right.
So the conditions were good, but look, Now, let me ask you this question: do you think that we're totally out of the woods here with Jake Elliott?
I'm going to give Jake Elliott the benefit of the doubt. Yeah.
Okay.
I do. I mean, I'm not saying he's never going to miss a field goal again. I'd be shocked if he missed a point after like he did last week. Didn't he missed the PAT last week? Did he not? I think he did.
I can't remember now.
Yeah, because they had 22 points, right? So if if you do the math, I think it's because they missed a PAT. So I trust him. I do trust him in a big spot. So it's a good question, though. I don't sound like I'm answering that confidently, but I would
you don't know why, though. It's blind faith.
Right. I'd trust him in a big spot. All but let me turn it back on you, on Jalen Hurts, because the way he came out, getting rid of the ball, distributing. By the way, some of his best throws were when the rush was coming and he checked down. It's not like your normal check down, like I'm just going to throw. It was more like, wait, bam. But those are harder check downs because you're inviting the rush so that when you do check it down, there's nobody who can make a tackle. And that's a really difficult play. So I want to give him a lot of credit for those kind of plays, and then other ones just getting the ball out of his hand quickly. But I will say, as the game sort of settled in, you did start to see him hold on to the ball, run around a little bit, take some sacks. But you do have to account for the fact that that's a very good Steelers defense.
And look, yes, Hurts held on to the ball a little bit in the third quarter, too much, but the decisiveness in the first half. And by the way, don't forget, he had nothing to do with the pressure for the most part the Steelers got on. It was the line, the offensive line was under siege. Dickerson left, they had problems. That's not Hurts' problem.
Correct.
There was this one play speaking of what you just talked about, he got hit. So they got the pressure up the middle. The rush got to him, and he didn't bail. This is the big thing where he's of everything he improved on today. This was a big play. He got nailed in the chest, but he got rid of it right before he got hit. He might have hit, I don't remember if he hit Calcaterra or Schmidt across the middle. It was a great throw. And the key to him, folks, is not bailing. You got to hang in there in the face of pressure. And he even here's another thing I've really liked today. Even sometimes when he moved a little bit to the right, he didn't throw it out. You ever see sometimes when he throws it out of bounds, you're like, why did he throw it out of bounds?
Mm-hmm.
Keep the play alive. Well, not only did he keep the play alive, he maintained his downfield focus and threw it. And this is not a bomb. This was not a bunch of 9 routes like 2 years ago, folks. This is short to intermediate. Crossers. Right. They got AJ on the crossers. This is a well-designed game by the OC, and the quarterback executed at the highest level. Hurts was phenomenal today. Absolutely phenomenal.
Now, can they keep it up? Can they work on that? Did this plant a seed? Did they find something? Because remember what I had said about the last 2 games. I said I felt like their passing game was becoming predictable because they were running so much that they would just run till they got the 3rd down.
I agree. Great point, man. I didn't agree with you.
Validation of a lot of things. This game was a validation. I know people throughout the week, because Hurts played well, are going to be like, you guys doubted him. You guys said he did. No, what we actually said was Hurts can make these plays. He just wasn't. He needed to have the confidence to rip it. Did he? Yes. And we said the coaches, they can't just like kind of succumb to just always running the ball and then being very predictable. They've got to marry the pass with the run. You can run a lot, but you can't just run 5 times, pass twice. Run, pass, run. Like, do that. And I felt that they had a much better balance today, and it made it tough for the Steelers to really key in on what they were going to do. And certainly the touchdown to A.J. Brown was a good example. That pop pass touchdown that Tom Brady so eloquently explained was an example of when the defense isn't quite sure if you're going to run or pass in that moment.
Yeah, the pop passes, the old Chip Kelly play, man. He was the king of the pop passes.
He loved it.
Yep. See, I just, and that was the thing. You weren't wrong when you said like they have to stop being so run centric in the first half, because my issue was it's hard to get into rhythm when you're not letting your quarterback get in any kind of rhythm. You're like, nope. If we're up 7-0, we're running it. If we're down 7-0, we're running it. You're not letting the guy get into any kind of rhythm. That's been the problem. I'm not absolving Hurts. He's struggled most of the season, but this is a great game. I mean, this is, and they came out. I'd have to look at the actual play chart. I know they wound up running it more than they threw it in the first half. 15 runs and 13 passes, but some of those obviously were called pass plays.
Right.
But on your point early, the best part of point that you made is sometimes they would be like, okay, 4 straight runs, not a pass. 3 runs, 1 pass. That's not how's the quarterback get into a rhythm?
I told you last week in the 3rd quarter, they had the first possession. They tried a play action pass on the first play. It didn't work, incomplete. And then they run the ball 7 straight times till they got to 3rd and 4. And then Jalen Hurts got sacked. I mean, you have to know, even if you're doing that well, if you're able to run the ball 7 straight times, you're still a little bit playing into the defense, and eventually they know you're going to pass. And so, you're hurting your offensive balance in general. You want your quarterback, your passing game, everybody to be involved. You want the defense to be on its toes so you can run your RPOs, run your play action, and the defense not being able to key in on you. So hopefully this is a seed that gets planted, and they can carry this in next week into their game against was it Washington? And
yes, at Washington. Yep.
By the way, Jalen Hurts had more passing yards in the first half than he had in total for the game before and the game before that. He had like 150, 160 passing yards in the first half. And then the week before, what's that?
146.
Yeah, the week before was like 141, and the week before that was 101 or something like that for the whole game. That's crazy.
No, this is impressive. Hurts is really good. See, when Greg said he thought they'd come out throwing more, I'm like, I hear you, but the way that they've been hiding Hurts in the first half, they're like, you're not throwing. We don't care what the situation is. He's not throwing. Mm-hmm. Honestly, that's not the way. Part of that's on Kellen Moore. That you can't. You got to let a quarterback throw. I mean, geez.
That's
And
why
they
I said
did.
I was disappointed with the offensive coaching style. I felt that they were succumbing, that they were not waving the white flag, but like you said, they're almost trying to hide the quarterback when we know he can make these throws. It's a job as a coach to figure out a way that if he's not doing it, to make him see it, give him some easy reads. He's not going to make them all the time. We know he misses some of the guys that are open, but you can't give up on it.
He wasn't missing. And the thing is,
No, he wasn't.
he was in such a rhythm. And I know a lot of fans say like he needs to get in a rhythm. He was in such a rhythm in the first half. And then the pressure, TJ Watt, and I hope his left ankle is okay, but
yeah,
he was just kidding. Lane gave up one sack and a big pressure, and that was concerning. You know, Calcaterra did a little bit of the nudge technique where he uses, as he's going out for the pass, he'd use his elbow or his shoulder to hit a Watt. It didn't seem to matter. I thought that was kind of funny because that's called the nudge technique. I've heard coaches talk about that before. It's kind of funny. But overall, again, so to sum it up, Hurts was magnificent. The line, you're worried about some of the injuries. The line, the coaches, particularly Stouts, got to figure what the heck happened. I get it. The Steelers have a great front. They have four really good pass rushers. Oh, plus Cam Hayward on the inside. But they play Washington, who's got a below average offensive line. In fact, I would say the Steelers is better than Washington's. And you saw the Eagles played an excellent home game against Washington earlier season where they tattooed Daniels. And that Monday night game, was it? Was it a Monday night game?
Yeah, I thought it was the Monday night game, right?
Okay.
Monday night game. One thing I would love to see, and by the way, shout out to one of our commenters, Derek Neiman, who's I'm chuckling because he said, "Did you say, Geoff, that they planted a seed that Nick Sirianni would be very proud of my planting a seed comment there?" Which, from Nick Sirianni's flower comment from way back when. But let me say this: I would like to see. And this is not a complaint. This is just talking about building off of this. Really have to see some explosive pass plays back. The big deep shots. Now maybe we'll see the all-22. Maybe the Steelers played a lot of too high. Maybe it wasn't there for them. I don't know. But this offense really becomes almost unstoppable when you're able to hit either AJ or Devontae deep down the sideline or the seams. I think the longest pass today might have been 21, 22 yards, which it's good. It's better than the last 2 weeks. But we know, Adam, that when this offense is functioning at its highest capacity, you're seeing A.J. Brown beat somebody over the top for a 50-yarder, or you're seeing Devontae Smith do it. So we'll have to see.
Yeah, they killed him on the intermediate game. Smitty and Brown. In fact, by the way, Brown and Smith combined for 219 yards. That's fantastic. That is, and Calcaterra had the nice 22-yard catch. In fact, they had one also called back. And again, don't forget, they scored 27 against Pittsburgh. Barkley misses a chunk of the game. He came back, as you know, in the third quarter. Shout out to Kenny Gameoff. My bad. I should have mentioned him. Don't let this 7 for 20 fool you. He looked great.
Huge third down catch where he broke those tackles.
Unbelievable.
Flat and got the first down. Yeah.
Yep. He's good. This is a feel-good game other than the injuries. You get concerned about we got to see about A.J. Brown. We got to see about Landon Dickerson. Here's the thing, though. Not that Steen's Dickerson, but the good thing is the Eagles actually have pretty good depth in the offensive line. Fred Johnson, by the way, has been a nice story for them. Dotson obviously will be the first guy up if A.J. Brown cannot play. We'll learn more over the next 48.
Yeah, you make a great point. The Eagles, I'm sure this happens to every team, but it does feel like when the Eagles have these great years, they get snake bitten really late in the season from losing Carson Wentz, right? I think that was week 12 against the Rams or 13. And then remember the big injury Lane Johnson had 2 years ago. He was able to play through it with the adductor tear that he suffered, I think, in December, right? He missed.
And then he had was it full or part? I can't remember. What did he tape it to get? It's been so long. How did he play with that? I forget. Do you know?
Well, he missed the last. I remember him saying he strengthened the muscles around it, and then remember he crouched just a different way to not open up too much and stretch it. So, and then I think he had the procedure afterwards. So he missed the last. If I'm not mistaken, he missed the last few games and then played in the playoffs even with the injury. So, like you said, you cross your fingers, but every team is going through it. The Lions are beat up and decimated. I'm sure other teams that I'm not thinking of that are pretty good. The Chiefs have always had their fair share of injuries. So
Mahomes' ankle. Yeah, he hurt his ankle.
Yep.
The fact, by the way, that the Bills, that's incredible. Josh Allen only threw the ball 34 times. They put on 48 at Detroit. That's incredible.
They're playing really well. The Bills, even in that loss again to the Rams, they played fairly well, especially offensively. So they'll be a tough team, right? I mean, we all agree the core four are basically the Chiefs, the Bills, the Lions, and the Eagles. Not in that order. It could be any order you want.
Yeah.
Put it in a blender. Any one of those four teams, to me, feels like the most obvious choice to win the Super Bowl. So that's why we got 3 games each, all left to play. And it's going to be a fantastic finish. And the Eagles, man, got to give them a lot of credit for working out their kinks in the passing game, the kicking game, and for the defense coming back strong. But they got to turn around and do it again. Now they got 2 division games coming up, starting with Washington and then Dallas. So the excitement will not end, my friend.
Yeah, and by the way, it's funny. A friend of mine texted me. He goes, "So do you think what AJ said motivated Hurts?" I'm like, there's no way to know that, but all AJ said, he never mentioned Hurts or Kellen Moore. He just said the passing game. Well, the passing game responded, and that's the best story of the day.
I think it's definitely fair to say that not just what AJ Brown said, but the way they had thrown the ball the last 2 weeks and the predictability of it, that nobody was happy. Or it wasn't just AJ. Nobody was happy. And I think it's safe to say the coaches knew they needed to go back to the drawing board a little bit and fix why they had become stagnant and a little bit predictable. And you credit them because sometimes in victory, coaches don't want to do that, but they were able to say, it doesn't matter how many games in a row we've won. We're frustrated. Our players are frustrated. We need to do something about it.
I'm going to end it with this. A decisive Hurts is a winning Hurts. Okay. That when he's decisive, look out.
Yep.
Because he can make any throw. This is you've got a lot of talent on offense. They just got to get the football. And that was super impressive. That was it. You could say he was very decisive against Cincinnati, but the throws are easier. These were not easy throws today. His focus was so sharp. What's that?
Yeah, this was a much better defense that he was picking.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, this is a very impressive game by Hurts, and going forward, you would hope that Kellen Moore learns. We'll find out. We'll talk to Greg Cosell Tuesday night with our Patreon members. I cannot wait till they take that show over. And I'm curious what they're going to have for Greg on that show.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting. It'll be very. Yeah. I think it'll be a more optimistic one and a little more.
You think? Yeah. And then we got the Inside the Tape with Greg. What's that drop? Thursday morning, maybe?
Inside the Tape, Greg Cosell will be out Thursday, probably late morning, afternoon.
Okay.
We'll have our 3 Inside the Birds. We'll have a Q&A. I'm sure they'll be very, very fired up.
Oh, yeah.
Talk about this game. I already got a text from one of them who will rename him, but they weren't really happy with Tom Brady, which a lot of people aren't happy with Tom Brady's broadcast. By the way, Tom Brady might be right about the hip tackle rule being too tough on defenders, because what are they supposed to do? He made the point that the defensive back is outweighed by AJ Brown by 30 pounds, but nobody wants to hear Tom Brady criticize the NFL for making it too hard on defenses. You're talking about Mr. Tuck rule, right? Nobody wants to hear Tom Brady saying you're making it too easy on offensive players, okay? Even if you're right, Tom, you're just not the guy to be making that claim.
Okay, we got to get out of here. But by the way, how about BG saying hello to Brady before the game?
What did he do? I missed it.
I'm laughing my ass off because a lot of the reporters saw it, and it's just because I remember talking to BG at a golf event a couple years ago, and we were going over the play, and just I'm like in awe because I'm seeing as he and I are discussing it, I'm like sort of like okay, right, oh wow, because he was describing, how he knew he had to make a play, he just knew he had to rise to the occasion. Just hearing him talk about it, and then he sees Brady today. I don't know if they've seen each other before that. Who knows? I mean,
they're Michigan guys. Brandon said he sees Tom at Michigan events all the time.
Okay. I mean, BG does. Okay.
Yeah.
But it was kind of funny today. It's just kind of funny that.
I wasn't even making the connection. Yeah. They've also had a famous meeting on a field in Minnesota where Brandon got the best in that one. That's what you're getting when you see Tom Brady.
No, I'm just talking about obviously that game in Minnesota.
Yep.
The strip sack. But no, again, let's move on here. But look, it's going to be a great week. It's going to be a great week of content, and cannot wait to talk about the tape this week.
Absolutely. It'll be a great one. All right, that'll do it for Inside the Birds post-game live. For Adam Caplan, I'm Geoff Mosher. See you all on the next one.